In the sunlit kitchen, I was preparing breakfast for my husband Michael. Through the windows of our new condominium, I could see the light shimmering on the Charles River. The ingredients laid out on the stainless steel kitchen counter gleamed in the morning light. "Honey, busy day ahead?" I called out while brewing coffee, and Michael nodded with a gentle smile. Dressed in his navy suit, he exuded the dignity befitting his position as a director at a real estate development company. The slim silhouette enhanced his intellectual air. "Yes, I have a presentation on the downtown redevelopment project today. But I should be back by evening." We spent a peaceful morning together at the table, with avocado toast, a fruit bowl, and organic yogurt laid out before us. After 3 years of marriage, with both our careers going well, I had no complaints about this life. Michael is the perfect husband, sincere, considerate, understanding of my work, and always supportive. On weekends, it had become our routine to select ingredients at the nearby Whole Foods and enjoy cooking together. Sometimes we'd invite Michael's mother Carol over for lively dinner parties. However, when I think about my own family, I feel a tightness in my chest. My mother and sister Pamela live together in our old family home. The aging house in Somerville was losing its once orderly appearance. Pamela, who had been divorced, favored an extravagant lifestyle and was consumed by gambling. It wasn't uncommon to see her heading to the casino with a new Gucci bag in hand. Despite having her retirement funds from her career as a high school teacher, Mother kept giving in to Pamela's endless demands. "Rachel, there's a church charity event this weekend. You'll attend, won't you?" During Sunday brunch, Michael's mother Carol extended the invitation. Activities at First Church in Cambridge were central to social life in this area. As a prominent figure in a local real estate dynasty, she wielded considerable influence in social circles. Living in a historic mansion on Brattle Street, Carol had become more of a mother to me than my own. We shared Sunday brunch at Carol's mansion every week. The time spent discussing local happenings and future dreams while gazing at the well-maintained garden created precious memories. Lately, something had been bothering me. My sister Pamela had suddenly started showing up at our house frequently. Dressed in flashy designer brands and wearing excessive makeup, she would act overly familiar with Michael. Watching her touch his arm or whisper in his ear made me feel uneasy. "Hey, Michael, real estate development must be really profitable these days, right?" The other day, Pamela had posed such a blatant question. As she leaned in with her glass in hand, speaking in a seductive voice, I could see a calculating look in her eyes. Mother, as always, showed blind support for Pamela's behavior while maintaining an icy attitude toward me. Still, life with Michael was fulfilling. My career as a marketing manager at a luxury boutique hotel in Kendall Square was going well too. On my days off, I enjoyed my hobbies like yoga and gardening, living peaceful days. One day at my Kendall Square office, I was carefully checking my laptop screen. A special dinner reservation at the Charles Hotel, a lily bouquet I'd ordered from the florist Michael's favorite, and an Omega watch I'd been keeping safe. Everything was perfectly prepared. I'd even found the finest Belgian chocolates online, carefully selected to match Michael's taste. "Mrs. Johnson, about your 4 o'clock meeting." When my secretary Jane spoke up, I waved her off. My eyes fell on the framed photo on my desk, showing Michael and me smiling together. "I'm sorry, but it's my husband's birthday today. I'll be leaving early." I smiled happily while carefully placing the presents in my bag. This would be Michael's third birthday since we got married. Last year I had to work late and couldn't celebrate properly, so I was determined to make this year extra special. As I left the office, my colleague Sarah avoided eye contact with an unnatural expression. But at that moment, I couldn't understand what it meant. Getting out of the taxi, I paused on my way to the condominium parking lot. Several unfamiliar cars were neatly lined up. BMWs, Mercedes, and that flashy pink Porsche, definitely Pamela's car. All luxury vehicles. Mixed among Mother's church friends' cars, I recognized some belonging to Michael's colleagues. A small worry began to grow in my chest. My finger trembled slightly as I pressed the elevator button. My reflection in the mirror suddenly looked lonely. The moment I stepped into the hallway, I could hear lively conversation and laughter coming from behind the door. The pop of a champagne cork. And that distinctive high-pitched laugh, unmistakably Pamela's. I could hear the sharp click of Christian Louboutin heels on the flooring. My hand stopped as I was about to insert the key. Behind the door, someone laughed loudly again. The evening light streaming through the windows cast long shadows in the hallway. My own shadow seemed to stretch distortedly, like an ominous premonition. Steeling myself, I opened the door to find an unbelievable scene. About 20 people were gathered in the living room. Luxury catered food was laid out, and Moët and Chandon champagne flowed freely. Mother's church friends, Pamela's flashy friends, and Michael's work colleagues. Everyone seemed to lose their words for a moment when they saw me. On the white marble counter sat an elaborate birthday cake. The candles flickered as if mocking my heart. In the center of the room stood Michael, glass in hand. He wore the same navy suit from this morning. I could see the coffee stain I'd made on his left hand. And next to him, pressed close against him, stood Pamela. My sister, dressed in a deep red Hervé Leger bodycon dress, carried herself as if she owned the place. Around her neck, Mother's heirloom diamond necklace sparkled. Dorothy, my mother, was the first to notice my presence. Her expression tensed for a moment before quickly turning to smile at those around her, as if nothing had happened. Adjusting the collar of her Chanel tweed jacket, she looked me up and down appraisingly. "Oh, Rachel. How unusual for you to come home early." Her voice carried an icy coldness. The room's atmosphere seemed to freeze for a moment. Just then, Pamela seductively pressed her lips to Michael's cheek. After a kiss that lasted too long, her bright red lipstick left a mark on his cheek. My sister turned to give me a smirk. "Oops. Busted." Her voice carried a triumphant tone. As her manicured fingers lightly stroked Michael's collar, my heart clenched. The room's atmosphere froze. Conversation stopped, and all eyes focused on me. Michael's face turned pale. The champagne glass nearly slipped from his hand. Then Mother slowly walked over to me. Dressed in her luxury brand suit, she looked down at me and declared. There wasn't a trace of the warmth that once showed love for a daughter in her eyes. "Sign the divorce papers and keep quiet." Those words rang as cold as the ice in a whiskey glass. Behind her, Pamela wore a meaningful smile. The gift package I had carefully prepared slipped from my hands. The Omega box tumbled to the floor, making an empty sound like my heart. The blue ribbon was about to be stepped on by someone's heel. Rachel, wait. Let me explain. I heard Michael's voice. But I couldn't turn back anymore. My world seemed to be crumbling in slow motion. I walked toward the door with slow but steady steps. Feeling tears stream down my cheeks, I straightened my back, mustering my last bit of dignity. As I grabbed the doorknob, my ring caught the light and sparkled. Just before stepping into the elevator, I heard a door open behind me. Someone might have come after me. Heels echoed in the hallway. But by then, I couldn't hear anything anymore. As I stepped out into the Cambridge night, a resolution began to form in my heart. This wasn't the end. Rather, it was the beginning of something. The Harvard Square streetlights gently illuminated my tears. With trembling hands, I took out my smartphone and searched for one number. Hello, Carol? Do you have a moment? Her voice felt like a guiding light in the darkness. The voice on the other end of the phone was as composed as ever, and just hearing it helped me regain some composure. The top-floor suite at the Charles Hotel was enveloped in the night view. Outside the window, Boston's city lights twinkled like stars. Carol lifted the teapot with an elegant gesture, quietly listening to my story. Her calm demeanor mysteriously helped settle my heart. I'm sorry for hurting you. Suddenly hearing a voice from behind, I turned to find Michael standing there. Deep fatigue showed on his face. His tie was loosened, and his suit was wrinkled. Pamela's lipstick mark remained as a faint red stain, as if hastily wiped away. Sit down, Michael. Carol's voice contained both gentleness and sternness as she addressed her son. Michael sat down on the white sofa, head bowed like a sinner awaiting judgment. Tell us everything. Prompted by his mother's voice, Michael slowly began speaking. His confession was far more shocking than I had imagined. A month ago, Pamela suddenly appeared at my office. His voice trembled. At first, I treated her normally since she was Rachel's sister. But suddenly she broke down crying, and confessed to having $200,000 in debt. I felt the blood drain from my face. Carol quietly refilled my tea. Her movements carried a cautious air, as if preparing for the storm to come. She had apparently lost big money gambling. The debt was from illegal casinos, and the collectors were coming even in the middle of the night. Michael's voice trailed off. Outside the window, an ambulance siren wailed. And Dorothy's retirement funds had already run out. Carol furrowed her brow. The leather of the luxury sofa creaked slightly under her fingers. Mother's retirement money. My voice rose involuntarily. There was no way the retirement funds could have run out so quickly. Yes, according to Pamela, it was all used up paying off gambling debts. Dorothy seems to have provided everything to protect Pamela. Carol's voice carried a controlled anger. Then she proposed a deal to me. Michael continued with difficulty. She said she'd cancel the debt in exchange for confidential information about the company's new projects. The room's atmosphere froze for a moment. Outside the window, MIT's dome rose against the night sky. I refused. But she wouldn't give up. She called every day, showed up at the office. Michael's voice broke off. Sweat had appeared on his forehead. And then even Mother started taking part. I shuddered involuntarily. Carol quietly set down her cup and looked straight at Michael. Mother took Pamela's side and pressured me, saying things like, "It's only natural to help your sister's family, and you should be able to provide some information." That's when I finally understood the reason for Mother's abnormal obsession. Her blind love for Pamela had clouded even her reason. But why have a party like today? At my question, Michael's expression turned pained. Pamela said it was her last resort. If I didn't cooperate, she'd tell Rachel everything. But that wasn't a threat against me. What do you mean? Pamela said she would destroy Rachel's happiness. Today's party was the execution of that threat. Mother participated too, in front of everyone. Carol slowly stood up. She was filled with the dignity of the Brown family matriarch. Michael, your judgment in refusing was correct. But hiding things was wrong. At those words, Michael bowed his head even deeper. Rachel, I'm so sorry for hurting you. I just wanted to protect our family's peace. His voice was hoarse with tears. But by hiding everything, I ended up bringing about the worst outcome. Carol walked to the window with elegant steps. Boston's night view outlined her silhouette. This is no longer just a family dispute. Her voice rang cold as ice. Illegal gambling, selling corporate secrets, and today's despicable act. Malice wearing the mask of good intentions is the most dangerous thing. I gazed at my mother-in-law's profile. There was the dignified authority of the Brown family matriarch, not just a mother-in-law. What will happen to Pamela and Mother? To my question, Carol smiled gently. Don't worry. I will handle everything appropriately. Her voice contained unwavering determination. Outside the window, moonlight rippled quietly on the Charles River. Now then, you two. Tomorrow begins a new life. From here, our counterattack begins. Right after Sunday service at First Church in Cambridge, an unusual tension enveloped the church. Carol quietly stood up and gave a small nod to the pastor. Her gesture showed her resolve for the punishment about to begin. I have an important announcement for everyone. Carol's voice echoed through the church where stained glass light filtered in. A murmur arose among the congregation. As the Brown family, and as a member of this church, we have discovered facts that cannot be overlooked. Mother, sitting in the front row, turned pale. Pamela was nowhere to be seen today. It has come to light that Dorothy Smith has misappropriated funds from the church's charity fund. The venue froze. Mother clutched her Bible with trembling hands. We have also confirmed that the misappropriated funds were used to repay illegal gambling debts of her eldest daughter, Pamela Smith. Carol continued calmly. Her voice contained no emotion. She was simply stating facts. The evidence has already been submitted to the church council. I could see the blood drain from Mother's face. The surrounding church members began distancing themselves from her. This was only the beginning of the retribution. The next day, a small article appeared in the social section of the Cambridge Chronicle. The article casually mentioned Pamela's conduct at illegal casinos. That same week, Mother received a sudden resignation recommendation from the Women's Association where she had served for many years. Invitations to Harvard Square charity events were canceled one after another. Carol, our social sanctions are progressing steadily. Attorney Stephen Green reported while spreading documents across his heavy desk. He was known as one of Boston's sharpest lawyers. We've provided all information to Pamela's creditors as well. Green's voice contained cold satisfaction. Although their debts from illegal casinos, all her assets will be subject to seizure. Of course, including Dorothy's remaining assets. Carol quietly nodded. Outside the window, autumn sunlight sparkled on the Charles River. Meanwhile, collection notices were avalanching onto Pamela. Please, just wait a little longer. In her luxury apartment, Pamela was desperately pleading on the phone. But the creditors were merciless. Your total debt exceeds $200,000. If you lack the ability to pay, we will take legal measures. The collector's voice rang cold over the phone. Tragedy was also unfolding at Mother's house. These are the documents evidencing misappropriation of retirement funds. The school district auditor spread out documents with a stern expression. Mother collapsed into a chair, pressing her forehead with trembling hands. This matter may affect your pension eligibility as well. The auditor's words echoed heavily in the aged living room. Just 2 weeks after the church incident, Pamela and Mother's lives were on the brink of complete collapse. Rachel, come watch. Carol took me to an old-fashioned cafe in front of Harvard Law School. From the window seat, we could see how Pamela's luxurious lifestyle had completely changed. Her flashy brand name clothes gone, replaced by modest attire, Pamela emerged ejected from an employment office. Her luxury car seized, she waited at a bus stop for the next bus. Karma, Carol's voice contained strict justice. That evening, we headed to the law office. In the conference room bordered by heavy curtains, Mother and Pamela were waiting. This is the settlement agreement. Attorney Green presented thick documents. A written confession and apology for all illegal acts, and a pledge to never contact Rachel and her husband again. Mother's hand trembled as she gripped the pen. Pamela kept her head down, her face bare of makeup. This ends everything. Carol's voice echoed quietly. Outside the window, the evening sky was stained crimson. The following week, Mother decided to move to an affordable nursing home in the suburbs. Pamela began preparing for bankruptcy proceedings. Your new life begins here, Carol said with a gentle smile as she handed over the keys to our new home. A quiet residential area near Brattle Street. Here, we could start a new life without any interference. Thank you, I said, and Carol quietly nodded. One spring morning a year later, we were enjoying breakfast on the terrace of our Brattle Street home. The scent of blooming tulips in the garden wafted over on the gentle breeze. Rachel, this brioche is absolutely delicious, Carol said with an elegant smile, dabbing her mouth with a napkin. Sunday brunch had become a precious tradition for the three of us. Yes, I found it at the new bakery in Whole Foods. You like it too, don't you, Michael? Across the table, Michael nodded contentedly. His expression showed no trace of the dark shadows from the past. By the way, how's the company's redevelopment project going? At Carol's question, Michael's face lit up with joy. It's going well. The new business district in Kendall Square might be completed ahead of schedule. Beyond the garden, neighborhood children were running around energetically. Watching them, I unconsciously placed my hand on my stomach. A little secret I hadn't told anyone yet. Oh my, Rachel. That gesture, could it be? Carol's sharp eye missed nothing. Actually, I'm 3 months along. For a moment, silence fell over the terrace. Then in the next instant, Michael jumped up from his seat. Really? Why didn't you tell me sooner? Watching my husband rush over to me in excitement, Carol smiled warmly. Congratulations, you too. This is wonderful news. Just then, the doorbell rang. Oh my, is it that time already? Carol stood up. Sunday at 11 a.m., time for service at First Church in Cambridge. We're on the church charity fund board now too. Unlike before, I now actively participated in church activities. With Carol's backing, our position in the community had become even more secure. Let's take a walk through Harvard Square on our way. Drawn by the spring weather, we started walking down the street. The new leaves on the street trees were dazzlingly bright. Along the way, I sometimes remembered. Pamela had gone through bankruptcy and was now living a modest life in New York. Mother was spending her quiet final years in a suburban nursing home. Don't get lost in thought. Michael gently squeezed my hand. His warmth gently melted away the dark memories of the past. When we arrived at church, many familiar faces warmly welcomed us. The painful memories of the past were gradually healing within this warm community. After the service, we enjoyed lunch at the Charles Hotel restaurant. Carol casually brought up the topic of a room for the baby. The house on Brattle Street has a room that would make a lovely nursery. We could use some of the furnishings from my era too. At those words, Michael and I couldn't help but exchange smiles. The birth of a new family member meant the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. You two will make wonderful parents. Carol's words were filled with deep affection. The sunlight streaming through the restaurant windows made the glasses on the table sparkle with rainbow colors. On our way home, walking along the Charles River embankment, we talked about our dreams for the future. The birth of a new life. And family bonds that had grown even stronger. It's wonderful that we can raise our child in this city. Michael nodded with a broad smile at my words. Yes, this child will surely have a happy life. Carol's voice was filled with certainty. The Charles River sparkled in the spring sunlight as if blessing our new life. That night, lying in bed, I said a little prayer in my heart. For the happiness of finding true family bonds after overcoming difficulties. And for the joy and anticipation of the new life about to begin. Outside the window, the full moon shone quietly. Its light seemed to gently illuminate our future.